This is part 3 of the Sabbath rest, and we are reminded that we have been called by God to be a holy nation, so that every tribe, every nation which is around us should know that we are the people of God. As the Israelites were called, so also we are called to be a royal priesthood, a holy nation before the eyes of God. The book of Exodus 19 verse 16 says, "And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. These are the words you shall speak to the children of Israel." And the book of 1 Peter 2 verse 9, and it says, "You are a holy, a holy nation, royal priesthood, holy before the eyes of God, that you shall sow and you shall proclaim the light of him who has called you out of darkness." We are holy nation, chosen people, royal priesthood before the eyes of God. So we are to proclaim his goodness to all people. How can we proclaim his goodness to his people? By keeping the Sabbath day as he has commanded us. As we have been looking at the Sabbath, reminds us the work of God which he did to create us. Also, the Sabbath reminds us our deliverance from sin. It reminds us that Jesus is our creator, Jesus is our redeemer, and Jesus will come again to take us home. Also, remember that through Israel, all the nations were to be blessed. That's what we read from the book of Exodus 9 verse 16. "But indeed, for this purpose I have raised you up, that I may show my power in you, and my name may be declared in all the earth." And the condition was if they were to be obedient. That's what the conditions they were given. Through God's miracles, surrounding nations knew that Israel's God was the true God and the supreme ruler. The book of Exodus 7 verse 5 and also Exodus chapter 12 verse 31 to 32. Remember also, these are great blessings. The great blessings are promised to those who place high estimate on the Sabbath. The book of Isaiah chapter 58 verse 12 to 14. And it says, "Those from among you shall build the old west. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of the streets to dwell in. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my whole day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the whole day of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own way, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in the Lord, and I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father. The mouth of the Lord has spoken." So there is a blessings if we control our foot from doing our pleasure on the whole Sabbath of the Lord. No, now, in the New Testament, there were some prohibitions established to keep the Sabbath holy, such as tying or untying anything, separating two threads, extinguishing fire, transporting objects between a private domain and a public domain, transporting something for more than a specific distance in a public domain. Those were some restrictions which were put so that they can keep the Sabbath holy. But in the book of John 5 verse 1 to 16, Jesus healed a man who had been suffering for 38 years at the pool of Bethsaida on the Sabbath day. This miracle shows that Jesus also did the works of mercy in the Sabbath day, completely ignoring the wonderful miracles that Jesus performed and the freedom from disease. The Pharisees had given this leader who obsessed that he healed the man who was carrying his bed in public on the Sabbath day. They wondered that this man who was healed is carrying the bed on Saturday. Why is he carrying the bed on the Sabbath day? They never minded about the miracle which Jesus did. They were wondered of the bed which the person was carrying. Remember, Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath. The book of Mark 2:28. Remember, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath, because the Son of Man is also the Lord of the Sabbath. Therefore, we should watch how we utilize it. Jesus utilized it properly by healing people who are suffering. And also as Christians, we should make sure we utilize it properly. Jesus utilized his Sabbath by giving freedom to those who are captives. In Isaiah, which we have read, 58 verse 12 to 14, God does not want empty worship, pious silence. He wants to see his people engaged with other people, especially the downtrodden and the marginalized. Remember also Isaiah 58:13, we should avoid pursuing our own pressure on the Sabbath, since our agendas are not part of God's Sabbath idea. Rather, we are supposed to look for those who are captive, who are hungry and naked, and walk in darkness, and whose names no one seems to remember. More than any other day of the week, Sabbath should take us out of ourselves and our own selfishness, and cause us to think more about others and others' needs more than ourselves and our needs. Jesus stated that the work of relieving the afflicted was in harmony with the Sabbath law. Remember also, should God forbid the sun to perform its office upon the Sabbath, cut off its external rays from warming the earth and nourish vegetation, must the system of the world stand still through the whole day? Nature must continue her unfailing course. God couldn't for a moment stay his hand, or man could faint and die. And man also had some work to do on this day. Which are some of these works? The necessities of life must be attended. The sick must be cared for. The wants of the need must be supplied. God's holiday was made for man, and acts of mercy are in perfect harmony with its intent. Thus God will not hold anyone guiltless who neglect to relieve suffering on the Sabbath. The book of Exodus, that 1, verse 13 and 16, speak also to the children of Israel, saying, surely my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generation, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctifies you. Therefore, the children shall keep the Sabbath throughout their generation as a perpetual covenant. It is sign between me, the children of Israel, forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. The Sabbath was and remains a sign between God and his people, since we are the current Israel. From the book of Galatians 3 verse 29. And if you are in Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So we are the current Israel. The Sabbath is a sign of God's perpetual covenant, and it helps us to know our Creator, Redeemer, and our Sanctifier. In fact, the Sabbath is so important that instead of our coming to it, it comes to us every week and without exception. A perpetual reminder of who we are, who made us, what He is doing for us, and what He will ultimately do for us when He makes new events and new earth. The Sabbath is a sign of the relationship existing between God and His people, a sign that they are His obedient subjects, that they keep His holy laws. The observance of the Sabbath is the means ordained by God of preserving a knowledge of himself and of distinguishing between his royal subjects and the transgressors of Israel. This is the faith once referred to the saints who stand in moral power before the world, firmly maintain this faith. As the Sabbath was the sign that distinguishes Israel when they came out of Egypt to enter the earthly Canaan, so it is the sign that distinguishes God's people as they come out of the world to enter the heavenly rest. The Sabbath is a sign of relationship existing between God and his people, and a sign that honor his law. It distinguishes between his royal subjects and the transgressors. All through the week, we are to have Sabbath in mind and be making preparation to keep it according to the commandment. We are not merely to observe the Sabbath as a regular matter. The Desire of Ages, page 20 says, the demands upon God are even greater upon the Sabbath than upon other days. His people then leave their usual employment and spend the time in meditation and worship. They ask more favors of him on the Sabbath than upon other days. They demand his special attention. They crave his choicest blessings. God doesn't wait for the Sabbath to pass before he grants this request. Heaven's work never ceases, and men should never rest from doing good. The Sabbath is not intended to be a period of useless inactivity. The law forbids secular labor on the rest day of the Lord. The toils that gains livelihood must cease. No labor for world pleasure or profit is lawful upon this day. But as God sees this labor of creating rested upon the Sabbath and praised it, so man is to leave the occupation for his daily life and devote those sacred hours to healthful rest, to worship and to holy deeds. The work of Christ in healing the sick was imperfect according to the law. It honored the Sabbath. Remember also, the Sabbath reminds us Christ made us, delivers us, recreates us, and is coming again for us. The Sabbath is a celebration of life that Christ has given us. It is a reminder that we should take care of the environment. The Sabbath is a sign of deliverance. Deuteronomy 5 verse 12 and 15. The Sabbath reminds that there is nothing impossible with God. That's what we should know. That since God created the world by his mouth, he can recreate our heart. Since he brought light out of darkness, he can lighten our darkened mind. Since he can speak and fruit trees appeared with their ripe delicious fruits, he can produce the fruits of the Spirit in our lives. And we know the fruits of the Holy Spirit: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, self-control, and all other things which are good. God intends us to do them. Since God can breathe life into Adam, he can breathe new life into our lives. Remember, as we have been told that the baptism is our new creation. When we are baptized, we become new creatures in the eyes of the Lord. In the beginning, God created life, and once again, he makes our life new. The Sabbath is a symbol of creation, and God's new creation. The Sabbath is a symbol of refreshing and blessing. The Sabbath is not only the day of worship, but also to bless others, just as Jesus did. As we remember, Jesus performed more miracles on the Sabbath than any other days. For Jesus, the Sabbath was a day to touch others with his healing grace. So, if we are Christians, the Sabbath should be the day of rest, the day of joy, the day to bless others as we have been blessed with God. Be blessed very much.